So I noticed that I had to do some editing with my video, and while looking over it with the audio and such, make sure the good quality and whatnot, I've noticed that there are subjects that I didn't get into. Um, Now, before anything, I should point out that I am in a positive place right now. My experience, I've gone into an emotionally numb place where you just kind of let things go, which is unfortunate, but I'm in a better place now. However, there are people who there's a good possibility that a lot of the cynicism and the criticism that comes with the cynicism could also lead to people going into substance abuse, self-harm, and other such negative things. If you're one of those people, I would strongly suggest looking at finding someone you can trust, or maybe making a phone call if need be. I don't know what your story is, and I can't give any advice in relation to what you're living. But I do hope for the best for you. After all, as I say in my video, once it starts, there's a lot of beauty out there, and you deserve the right to experience that beauty. Now, with all that said, on to the video. Hello and welcome to my virtual presentation. I am your host, Neko Austin, or you could just call me Austin if you like. And I'm sure it's maybe wondering what's the deal with the pixel art ghost in the background. Well, this is to make a point of what the ghost represents, at least for the discussion of this video, which is cynicism. And yeah, this is going to be my second video where I talk about cynicism. Now, to be clear, when it comes to cynics, I'm talking about those who hold a contemptuous disbelief in human goodness and sincerity, as well as how such a view will affect others, and how that can also lead into nihilism and other such things. Now, this video is also going to be a bit of a personal thing, because I'm going to be sharing a bit of a personal detail about myself as well. But yeah, before doing this video, and because seeing how it's going to take me about 2 months to upload anything new, it's because I was looking into like a whole bunch of things on what makes people cynical and what's out there. And fortunately, YouTube's algorithm, although it's really a suggestion bot, but yeah, gave suggestions of Reddit stories and 4chan stories, but not only are those clearly AI videos, but I'm pretty sure that the stories themselves are AI generated. Seeing how there's a lot of editorializing and other such things that just doesn't come off as someone talking about their experience, but more like someone telling a story. Now, the problem with this sort of thing is that it can lead to people doubting the sincerity of a post when someone decides to post a serious thing about themselves. And we do see this even when it comes to video uploads, because like even if I wasn't using a virtual model and you actually saw my body, there's still going to be certain things like lighting, camera placement, and stuff like that that will lead people to believe that, well, there is a lack of sincerity, or that there is no good reason to do something like this except for narcissistic views, due to narcissism. And yeah, not saying that isn't a thing. Unfortunately, a lot of people look at a lot of this fake stuff, the narcissism, the fake stories and such, and are convinced that this is what reality is, believing that people are lying in order to get something out of you, even if it's something that has no substance, such as attention. And this can have a negative effect on what people try to do. Even when I've even seen this, not just with the fake 4chan stories and fake Reddit videos, but I've also seen this where like as a reason, you have people who will do like charity funds and such, and a lot of people are saying how, well, a lot of that's fake anyways. Hey, why not give me the money instead, since that money's not going anywhere, So that is another negative thing. However, I do also believe that the cynicism can also be turned inwards, because just as how people constantly get exposed to this stuff that only helps to reinforce whatever cynical views they hold, they can also turn inwards to doubt their own their own personal goodness, um, their own sincerity. They end up doubting their own capacity to be good, their own personal abilities. And so, with this, due to their personal doubts and stuff like that, their cynicism turns inwards. And then and with someone who's like, and I know this because I went through this quite a lot. And I'll be honest, with the past 2 months, I've also kind of fell into a bit of a pit of despair because of it. But I'm out of that now, which is that you end up getting nihilistic. You start to believe that, well, it's not worth it. What's the point of doing things? And even if you don't believe you yourself hold no goodness, there's always doubting the goodness of others and believing that others may turn on you just because of, and that too can also lead into nihilism. Now, I know a lot of people tend to conflate nihilism and apathy. Well, there is a difference, because nihilism is just that you don't believe you seriously doubt that it's worth doing what it is you're trying to do. You want to do something and make something of yourself, or at least do something that can make the world better. But believing that it's not worth, that's nihilism. And apathy is where you either give up caring or you just don't really feel anything. And no, you're not always apathetic when you're feeling this sense of nihilism. And yeah, this is me talking more from personal experience, but given the pattern I've seen of other people with how they speak, and or even the messages they leave online, the comment section. I mean, yeah, even going back to the Reddit and 4chan stories, or the AI videos rather, you go to those and reading the comment section, it's very easy to lose faith in humanity. But yeah, if you're someone who truly is empathic, or at the very least has some feeling of sympathy for something, if you're feeling that sense of nihilism that it doesn't matter, then you end up driving yourself nuts. And in some instances, you may even overload yourself, and then you fall into apathy. You end up becoming emotionally numb, end up not caring, and even you'll even lose passion in what it is that you enjoy. And no matter how hard you try to dig yourself out of this pit of despair, the the void of apathy, it it is something that you unfortunately need to dig yourself out of, and you can't just go into media and hoping to feel better from a good story or whatever, because like I said, you're going to have that cynicism that's looming in the background, like a phantom. Hence again, the background image there. You're going to have a phantom in the background, and you got to get yourself away from the void and get yourself away from that creeping idea that of cynicism, nihilism, and stuff like that. Because once you fall into apathy, once you have that emotional numbness, it is really hard to really enjoy the simple things in life. A lot of people like to blame this on short form content, and I will say that there is a problem with short form content, but I do believe that this is a bigger problem, because I know that this certainly holds me back, and rather than being stuck against the wall with this phantom of nihilism and cynicism pinning you, pulling you into the wall and keeping you held there, you got to acknowledge that it's not there. There's more to life than all this stuff that makes you get feeling cynical and such. But that is the thing, though. You got the media out there, and it isn't just like I was saying with the AI videos. You also have the 24-hour news thing where they focus on the negative so much that, yeah, it almost feels like there's nothing worth living for. But no, there is plenty to live for still. I mean, I'm sure whoever's watching this video probably has a loved one that deeply cares about them, you know? If not someone who's family, then someone who's at least a close friend who's willing to listen, lend a shoulder to cry on, and stuff like that, you know? But for your sake, you would need to get away from the media. Don't watch the news, as much of a bad idea that sounds like, but yeah, don't don't be glued to the 24-hour negative news reel, okay? And even if you see these AI stories about how someone got back at a lover who cheated on them or whatever, or parents behaving badly, being abusive, or whatever it is that gets recommended to you, ignore it. Do yourself a favor and ignore it. Because I do believe that you can have a better life, and I'm able to get back into being productive because I'm not letting the phantom take control. Of course, it's still in the back of my head, just like with the image behind me, that phantom is still there waiting with its creepy, ghostly claws to grab you and pull you back into that apathy, the void of despair. And to avoid that, well, you need to get away from the toxicity of the media that's causing it. It could be listening to a good song, could be relying on people, or maybe something as simple as watching the sunrise or the sunset, or just listening to nature. You might even notice something that you didn't notice was there before, and it may actually be a good thing. So, with all that said, that's my thoughts in relation to like the bad things of cynicism and nihilism, and how that leads to apathy. With all said, I am Neko Austin, and I thank you for watching.